Hello everyone. Today we take a moment to look back at the lives of the artists who have recently passed away. Individuals who touched the hearts of the public with their talent, dedication, and lasting marks on popular culture. This is a moment for us to remember and appreciate the enduring contributions they left behind over the years. If you value memorial content like this, please support the channel by pressing like and subscribing. Thank you for being here with us. Now, let's begin. American rock singer Tommy DeCarlo, the lead vocalist of the band Boston, has passed away at the age of 60 after a period of battling brain cancer. According to information confirmed by his family and reported by multiple news outlets, Tommy DeCarlo died on March 9, 2026, after several months of fighting the illness. Tommy DeCarlo was born on April 23, 1965, in Utica, New York. Before entering a professional music career, he worked at Home Depot in North Carolina and was a long-time fan of the band Boston. The turning point in his life came in 2007 after Brad Delp, the legendary lead singer of Boston, passed away. DeCarlo recorded a tribute song for Brad Delp and posted it along with Boston cover songs on MySpace. These recordings attracted the attention of Tom Scholz, the founder of the band Boston. Scholz later invited DeCarlo to participate in the Brad Delp tribute concert, and from that point, he officially became a singer for the band. For nearly 2 decades, DeCarlo performed with Boston on many major tours and contributed vocals to the album Life, Love, and Hope, 2013. He performed many famous songs such as More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, Amanda, and Don't Look Back. In addition to his work with Boston, DeCarlo also released the solo album Dancing in the Moonlight, 2022. Tommy DeCarlo is remembered as an artist with a remarkable journey, from a fan to becoming the lead voice of the very band he loved. His voice continues to echo in live performances and in the memories of rock music fans. Country Joe McDonald, a singer, songwriter, and one of the figures closely associated with anti-war songs in the 1960s, has died at the age of 84. The information was confirmed by his family to the American press, stating that he passed away on March 7, 2026, in Berkeley, California, after living for some time with Parkinson's disease. McDonald was widely known as the leader of the band Country Joe and the Fish, one of the representative names of the psychedelic rock wave in San Francisco during the 1960s. He was also the author of the famous anti-war song, I Feel Like I'm Fixin' to Die Rag, a song that became a familiar voice of the anti-war movement during that period. Born in 1942 in Washington, D.C., with the birth name Joseph Allen McDonald, he grew up in California in a family with clear political views. Before entering the path of music, McDonald served in the United States Navy, an experience that later had a major influence on the way he viewed war and society. Throughout a career that lasted several decades, Country Joe McDonald was not only a performing artist, but also someone who used music to express his views on social issues. His compositions combined folk and rock, with direct messages about war, civic responsibility, and the lives of Americans during a time of change. His passing closes a memorable chapter of American music in the 1960s, but the songs and messages he left behind continue to be remembered as part of the memory of a turbulent period in the history of the United States. Jennifer Runyon, the actress who appeared in the famous film Ghostbusters, has died at the age of 65. The information was confirmed by her family to US media, stating that she passed away on March 6, 2026, in California. In a statement sent to the press, the family shared that she passed away surrounded by loved ones and is remembered as a wonderful mother, wife, and friend. Jennifer Runyon began her acting career in the early 1980s, a period when American television and cinema were entering a time of strong growth. With her youthful appearance and natural acting style, she quickly appeared in many film projects and television programs. One of the roles most often mentioned by audiences was her appearance in the film Ghostbusters, 1984. The film was directed by Ivan Reitman and featured well-known actors such as Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis. Although she only played a small role in the film, her presence was still associated with a work that became a defining mark of popular cinema in the 1980s. Also in 1984, Runyon appeared in the teen comedy film Up the Creek, where she played the role of Samantha. This role helped her reach a wider young audience at the time and strengthened her position in Hollywood entertainment projects. In addition to film, Jennifer Runyon also appeared in several familiar television series such as Charles in Charge, Another World, and later Beverly Hills 90210. These roles made her a familiar face to American television audiences throughout the 1980s and the early 1990s. Although she was not associated with major leading roles, Jennifer Runyon is still remembered as part of the vibrant era of Hollywood television and cinema. Her performances continue to be recalled by many viewers with appreciation. Brad Arnold, the lead singer and co-founder of the American rock band 3 Doors Down, has died at the age of 47 after battling cancer. The news was confirmed by members of the band and his family on February 7, 2026, stating that he passed away peacefully in his sleep after fighting stage 4 kidney cancer. Bradley Kirk Arnold was born on September 27, 1978, in Escatawpa, Mississippi, United States. He grew up in a small town and showed an early interest in music. In 1996, while still a teenager, Arnold formed the band 3 Doors Down with friends. He initially served as the drummer before becoming the lead singer and the group's primary songwriter. The band's name began to gain widespread recognition in 2000 when the song Kryptonite became a major hit. Notably, Arnold wrote the song when he was only 15 years old during a math class at school. After its release, Kryptonite reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and earned the band its first Grammy nomination. The group's debut album, The Better Life 2000, later sold more than 6 million copies in the United States, making 3 Doors Down one of the prominent rock bands of the early 2000s. In the following years, the band continued to release many songs loved by audiences, such as When I'm Gone, Here Without You, Be Like That, and Loser. Over nearly 3 decades of activity, Brad Arnold helped build a band with wide influence in mainstream rock. His voice became associated with many songs familiar to a generation of listeners. His passing leaves a void in the global community of rock fans. Neil Sedaka, a singer, songwriter and pianist well known in American pop music, has died at the age of 86. The information was confirmed by his family to the press, stating that he passed away on March 2, 2026, in Los Angeles, California, in the arms of his loved ones. Born on March 13, 1939 in Brooklyn, New York, Neil Sedaka grew up in the Brighton Beach neighborhood and showed musical talent at an early age. He studied at the Juilliard Preparatory School, where he received formal training in classical piano. During his younger years, Sedaka met Howard Greenfield, who later became his longtime songwriting partner. The two began writing music together at the Brill Building in New York, a famous pop songwriting center of that era. By the late 1950s and early 1960s, Sedaka had become one of the representative figures of American pop music. He made his mark with many successful songs, such as Oh Carol, Calendar Girl, and Happy Birthday, Sweet 16. One of his biggest hits was Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, a song that reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in 1962. In addition to performing, Sedaka was also a successful songwriter. He and Howard Greenfield wrote many songs for other artists, including Stupid Cupid, performed by Connie Francis. These compositions helped shape the pop style of the Brill Building era. Throughout a career spanning more than 6 decades, Neil Sedaka left behind hundreds of songs and many recordings loved by audiences. His passing closes the life of an artist who remained connected to American pop music across many generations. Lauren Chapin, the actress who was once famous for playing the young girl Kathy Kitten Anderson in the classic television series Father Knows Best, has died at the age of 80. According to information confirmed by her family to the American press, she passed away on February 21, 2026, in California. Lauren Chapin was born on May 23, 1945, in Los Angeles, California. She began acting at a young age and quickly became known to television audiences. A major turning point in Chapin's career came when she was cast as Kathy Anderson, the youngest daughter in the family sitcom Father Knows Best. The series aired from 1954 to 1960 and became one of the most famous family shows on American television during that period. The character Kathy, often called by the nickname Kitten, was loved by audiences for her innocence and memorable lines. This role made Lauren Chapin one of the familiar child stars of American television in the 1950s. Thanks to her performance in Father Knows Best, Chapin received an award for young performers during that time. The success of the program also helped shape the familiar image of an American family in the post-war era. After the series ended in 1960, Chapin gradually stepped away from the television spotlight and went through several periods of change in her personal life. In later years, she participated in community activities, shared her life story at various events, and met with fans. The passing of Lauren Chapin marks the end of the life of an actress who was closely associated with a memorable era of American television. Her role as Kathy Anderson is still remembered by many viewers as a familiar memory of classic television. Sandy Wernick, a veteran Hollywood manager and longtime collaborator of comedian Adam Sandler, has died at the age of 86. The news was confirmed after Adam Sandler posted a tribute on social media, and entertainment news outlets simultaneously reported on his passing. Over many decades working in the entertainment industry, Sandy Wernick was known as a figure who worked behind the scenes, but had a clear influence in the field of American comedy. He began his career in the 1970s, taking part in many comedy television programs and entertainment projects in Hollywood. Wernick's name was closely associated with Adam Sandler, whom he accompanied and supported from the early stages of the comedian's career. In his role as a manager and advisor, he helped guide many important projects during the development of Sandler's career in film and television. In addition to his management work, Sandy Wernick also participated in several projects as a producer and content developer. He occasionally appeared in small roles in Sandler's films, as a way of acknowledging the long-standing relationship between the two. In his tribute, Adam Sandler described Wernick as a loyal friend who supported him throughout many years of work. Sandy Wernick was not a familiar face to the general public. However, within the American entertainment industry, he was known as someone who devoted most of his life to supporting artists and developing comedy projects loved by audiences. His passing closes the journey of a quiet but influential figure who spent many decades working within Hollywood. Danny DeVito was born on November 17, 1944. His birth name is Daniel Michael DeVito Jr., named exactly after his father, Daniel Michael DeVito Sr. Decades later, the name Danny DeVito would appear on television, on the big screen, and in the memories of millions of viewers. But at that time, everything began in a very simple way. It was just the birth of a boy in an ordinary working-class family. Danny DeVito was born in Neptune Township, a small town located on the edge of the coast of New Jersey. Not a center of cinema, nor a vibrant cultural city. It was simply a seaside community where life followed familiar rhythms. Adults leaving home early in the morning to go to work, the streets growing quiet in the afternoon, and in the evening, the whole family gathering around the same dinner table. In places like that, people do not think much about Hollywood. Most residents simply hope that tomorrow will be a little easier than today. And there was no sign that the boy born in this small town would one day become a familiar face to audiences across the United States. Danny's father was a man of the typical working generation of post-war America. He believed in discipline, in working hard, and in family responsibility. Danny's mother, Julia DeVito, kept the household running in a quieter way. She was the one who maintained warmth in the family through practicality and patience, qualities commonly found in many immigrant families. The DeVito family was an Italian-American family, and that brought with it a very particular atmosphere. Large family meals, conversations that were never completely quiet, and a strong bond among family members. Danny was the youngest of 3 children, after his 2 older sisters, Angela and Teresa. Growing up in that house meant always being surrounded by strong personalities, lively conversations, and sometimes the familiar chaos of a traditional Italian family. In that environment, Danny learned early how to observe people. Not through books, but through the conversations around the dinner table, through the way adults argued and then laughed loudly with each other just minutes later. Not long after Danny was born, the family moved to Asbury Park, New Jersey, another coastal city. This place carried a different energy, rougher, shaped by the rhythm of working-class life, with music, bars, and busy streets along the shore. Many years later, this very city would appear in the music of Bruce Springsteen as a symbol of American towns where people grow up with the desire to leave, yet carry their memories for the rest of their lives. Danny DeVito grew up between 2 seaside towns of New Jersey, in an Italian-American working-class family, and in a world that gave no sign that the small boy would one day enter the entertainment industry. There was no artistic tradition in the family, no open road leading toward Hollywood. There was only a small town, an ordinary family, and a child carefully observing the world around him. In the early years of Danny DeVito's life, one thing soon became clear. The boy was not developing the same way other children did, not in personality, but in his body. Danny was born with a rare genetic disorder called cartilage hair hyperplasia. This condition directly affects bone development and is also related to the immune system and the structure of the spine. The disorder causes the body to develop with proportions different from the usual ratio, and when he reached adulthood, Danny DeVito's height stopped at 4 feet 11 inches, which is about 1 meter 50. For a child, those numbers do not carry much meaning, but the world around him sees them differently. Most things in everyday life are designed for people who are taller. Details that seem very small are enough to create a difference. Door handles placed too high, school desks that do not truly fit the body. And when speaking with adults, Danny often had to tilt his head upward to look at them. These were not obstacles that were especially difficult. They were simply repeated reminders that his body was not like that of most people around him. Other children quickly noticed the difference, and sometimes they reacted to it. Danny DeVito understood that. But instead of withdrawing into himself, he gradually found another way to exist. He chose to laugh first. Not the kind of laughter used to hide something, but the kind that makes others see things in a lighter way. Danny began to realize that humor could change the atmosphere in a room. When a situation became awkward, or when someone's gaze lingered too long on his difference, a well-timed, humorous remark could soften everything. Over time, this gradually became a personal principle that he would repeat many years later. The best way to take the weight out of something is to laugh about it first. That sentence was not a philosophy written to inspire people. It was simply the lived experience of someone who had grown up with a very visible physical difference. From the outside, people could see a small boy among other children. But on the inside, Danny DeVito was developing skills that would later become the foundation of his acting career. He learned how to observe people. He learned how to read the atmosphere in a room. And more importantly, he understood that difference, if accepted, could become part of one's character. Many years later, when he stepped into film and television, audiences would see Danny DeVito appear on screen with a very recognizable stature. But what made him special was not simply his height. It was the way he used that difference to create comedic rhythm, to build characters, and to make seemingly unusual characters feel alive. Those things did not begin in Hollywood. They began with a boy in New Jersey, learning how to exist in a world designed for people taller than him. Before Hollywood knew the name Danny DeVito, even before stage lights and film cameras appeared in his life, there was a period that is rarely mentioned but played a decisive role. It was the years of study in New Jersey and New York, where a young man began to understand that his sense of humor was not only instinct, it could become a profession. Danny DeVito attended Oratory Preparatory School in Summit, New Jersey, a Catholic school for boys with a disciplined and academically serious environment. There, most students were expected to become lawyers, businessmen, or to follow other stable career paths. Danny did not entirely fit that mold. He was not the school's outstanding student, not the one who topped the class or showed enthusiasm for long lectures. Danny was energetic, easily distracted, and often carried with him a kind of energy that was somewhat difficult to contain. But in the classroom, in the school hallways, or in conversations among friends, he stood out in his own way. He made people laugh. Not the kind of forced humor. It was a natural reflex, the way Danny told a story, the way he imitated someone, or simply the way he observed small details in everyday life and turned them into a humorous moment. Gradually, both friends and teachers began to notice that this small-framed student had a special ability to read the atmosphere of a room. After graduating, Danny DeVito began to think more seriously about his future. The path he chose was not the same as that of his classmates. He decided to study at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, one of the oldest acting schools in the United States. Moving to New York was a major change. The city was completely different from the coastal towns of New Jersey, where Danny had grown up. The pace of life was faster, louder, and far more competitive. Yet it was there that Danny began to learn how to turn his natural sense of humor into performance skills. At the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, he received formal training in acting, how to build a character, how to control the voice, and how to use the body on stage. More importantly, this was the first time Danny DeVito realized that the very traits that once made him different, his small stature, his careful observation of people, and his natural comedic timing, could become advantages in the acting profession. However, the road ahead was still unclear. In the early period after studying acting, Danny DeVito did not immediately step onto major stages or enter the film industry. Instead, he took another job, working as a hairstylist at the salon owned by his sister Angela. At first glance, this job seemed unrelated to acting, but for Danny, it became another kind of classroom. In that small salon, he spent many hours each day talking with customers, women and men who came in for haircuts and styling, each bringing with them their own personal stories. There, Danny listened to broken marriages, worries about money, and the small joys of everyday life. He observed how people spoke, how they reacted, how they hid or revealed their emotions. These things did not immediately appear on stage, but years later, when Danny DeVito began creating his characters, those ordinary details would become valuable material. New York did not turn him into a star overnight, but it was in this city that Danny DeVito began to understand that his career would be tied to observing people and telling their stories in his own way. Sometimes, the major turning points of a life begin in very modest places, not in the meeting rooms of Hollywood and not under the lights of grand theaters. For Danny DeVito, one of the most important moments happened in a small theater in New York in 1970. That night, Danny simply came to watch a play. An ordinary audience member sitting in the theater, while on stage a young actress was performing, Rhea Perlman. Stages like that are often very close to the audience seats. There is no great distance between the performers and the viewers, close enough that one can almost hear each other's breathing. Every expression, every movement appears clearly under the lights. And in that small space, Danny DeVito noticed a change in his own feelings. It was not a passing curiosity, not a faint, fleeting impression. He knew he had just met someone important in his life. 2 weeks after that evening, Rhea Perlman moved in to live with Danny DeVito. Their relationship began very quickly, almost without the need for a long period of getting to know each other. But their bond lasted for decades. The two married in January 1982. Later, they had 3 children: Lucy DeVito, born in 1983, Grace Fan DeVito, born in 1985, and Jacob Daniel DeVito, born in 1987. Many years later, Rhea Perlman became a familiar face on American television when she played Carla Tortelli in the sitcom Cheers, which aired from 1982 to 1993. The role earned her 4 Emmy Awards. But in the early 1970s, when the two first met, all of those successes were still far ahead. At that time, Danny DeVito was working mainly in the off-Broadway environment. It was a very different world from the glittering Broadway. The theaters were smaller, the budgets more modest, and the number of audience members also fewer. But on stages like those, actors had to rely entirely on their own ability. There were no large effects, no safe distance. If an emotion was not real, the audience would notice immediately. For Danny DeVito, off-Broadway was like a practical school. There he learned how to control the rhythm of performance, how to hold the audience's attention, and most importantly, how to make a character come alive simply through his own presence on stage. One of the most important opportunities came in 1971, when Danny was chosen to join the play One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He played Martini, a patient in a mental hospital, a character who was both innocent and vulnerable. The director of the play was Miloš Forman, the Czech filmmaker who later became one of the important directors of American cinema. Forman recognized particular strengths in Danny DeVito, the ability to make the audience both laugh and feel sympathy for his character at the same time. 4 years later, in 1975, Miloš Forman adapted One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest into a feature film. The leading role was given to Jack Nicholson, but Danny DeVito continued to play Martini, just as he had done on stage before. The film later became a phenomenon. It won 5 major Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Adapted Screenplay. For Danny DeVito, the role of Martini did not immediately make him a star, but it opened the first door. From the small stages of off-Broadway, Danny DeVito had stepped into a film that would be regarded as one of the important works of American cinema. And for the first time, his name began to appear in the wider world of Hollywood. Sometimes an actor's career changes with just one role, not because the role is particularly large, but because it appears at exactly the right moment, when talent, experience, and opportunity finally meet. For Danny DeVito, that moment came in 1978, when he stepped into a television series called Taxi. The setting of the series is quite simple. The story takes place at Sunshine Cab Company, a taxi company in New York. Most of the characters in the show are taxi drivers, people who are temporarily doing this job while waiting for something better, an acting career, an artistic dream, or simply a chance to change their lives. Among these people trying to find their direction, there is one character who almost stands in a completely different position: the man who runs the taxi company. A short man who always seems irritated and appears to trust no one. That character is Louis De Palma. Louis De Palma is not the kind of character who is easy to like. He is bitter, greedy, and almost always looking for ways to control or manipulate the people around him. Louis frequently mocks the taxi drivers who work under him and is ready to take advantage of any situation if it brings him personal benefit. On paper, this is a character who could easily make the audience uncomfortable. But when Danny DeVito took on the role, everything became different. He brought to Louis De Palma a very distinctive comedic rhythm, fast, sharp, and sometimes unexpected. Lines that seem harsh on the surface become funny because of the way Danny delivers them, because of his expressions, and because of the character's almost unreasonable confidence. Louis De Palma does not become a good person, but through Danny DeVito's portrayal, he becomes a character that audiences always want to see more of on screen. Taxi quickly attracted the attention of American television audiences. The series brought together a strong cast: Judd Hirsch, Andy Kaufman, Tony Danza, Marilu Henner, and Christopher Lloyd. Each actor brought a distinct personality, and it was the interaction between these very different characters that created the vitality of the show. Within that cast, Danny DeVito, with his small stature and powerful energy, quickly became a presence that was difficult to ignore. The character Louis De Palma often appears in the small office behind the taxi garage, yet almost every scene involving him carries its own distinctive pull. The attention of the audience gradually turned into recognition from the television industry. In 1981, Danny DeVito won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor for his role as Louis De Palma. This was the first major television award of his career, a milestone that showed Danny DeVito was no longer just a supporting actor in small projects, but had become an influential presence in American television. The series Taxi continued to air for 5 seasons, with a total of 114 episodes. During that time, Louis De Palma remained one of the most memorable characters of the show. And for Danny DeVito, this role marked an important turning point. For the first time, millions of viewers across the United States began to recognize his face. An actor who had once come from the small stages of off-Broadway had now become a familiar presence on national television. By the early 1980s, Danny DeVito was no longer an unfamiliar face on American television. His role as Louis De Palma in Taxi had earned him an Emmy Award in 1981 and brought him to audiences across the country. But television was only part of the story. The next step in Danny DeVito's career began when he moved deeper into film, not only as an actor, but gradually also as a director and producer. One of his first notable films during this period was Romancing the Stone, 1984, directed by Robert Zemeckis. The film is an adventure mixed with humor, set in South America and centered on a treasure hunting story. Danny DeVito played Ralph, a cunning treasure hunter who always tries to stay one step ahead of others. Alongside him were the two main actors, Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. The character Ralph is not the center of the story, but Danny DeVito brought a special energy to the role, both humorous and somewhat dangerous, and always making the audience curious about what this character would do next. The success of the film led to the sequel, The Jewel of the Nile, 1985, where Danny DeVito returned to the role of Ralph. By this time, audiences had already become familiar with his presence on the big screen. Without needing to dominate the entire story, Danny DeVito still had the ability to make a supporting character memorable. In 1987, Danny DeVito took another step forward in his career, directing his first film titled Throw Mama from the Train. The film belongs to the dark comedy genre, with Billy Crystal in the leading role. The story revolves around two men dissatisfied with their lives who come up with a strange plan to solve their problems. With this film, Danny DeVito showed that he was not only a comedic actor with a strong personality, but also someone capable of controlling the entire rhythm of a cinematic story. 1 year later, in 1988, Danny DeVito appeared in the film Twins. This time, his co-star was Arnold Schwarzenegger. The idea of the film is very simple but full of irony. Two twin brothers are created from a genetic experiment. One inherits almost every genetic advantage, tall, strong, and perfect. The other, played by Danny DeVito, receives the remaining imperfections. It is precisely this contrast that creates the film's comedic rhythm, and Twins quickly became a major box office success. Danny DeVito continued to expand his role when he directed and acted in The War of the Roses, 1989. In the film, he plays a lawyer, while also standing behind the camera to guide the story. The film features Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner telling the bitter collapse of a marriage, a story that is both humorous and dark in the style of black comedy. In 1992, Danny DeVito took on one of his most notable roles, Penguin in Batman Returns, the film directed by Tim Burton. This is a complex, villainous character that required heavy makeup, changes in voice, and a complete transformation of appearance. The result was a penguin who is both frightening and strange, yet still carries a distinctive dark humor. The role was later regarded as one of the most memorable villains in superhero films. Not stopping there, Danny DeVito continued directing and acting in Matilda, 1996, where he played Mr. Wormwood, the irresponsible father of the girl Matilda. The film, based on the work of Roald Dahl, later became one of the most beloved children's films of the 1990s. Alongside acting and directing, Danny DeVito also participated in film production through the company Jersey Films. This company helped bring several notable films to the market, such as Pulp Fiction, Get Shorty, and Erin Brockovich. From small roles on stage, Danny DeVito had now become an influential figure in many areas of the film industry: actor, director, and producer, all existing within a career that continued to expand. After many decades of working in film and television, Danny DeVito has become a familiar face in American popular culture. But what is notable is that his career did not stop at the successes of the past. Even after entering a new stage of his life, Danny DeVito continues to appear on screen, with the same distinctive energy that has followed him since the early days. One of the notable new chapters of his career began in 2005 when Danny DeVito joined the comedy series It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He appeared starting from season 2, playing Frank Reynolds, a character completely different from the familiar roles he had portrayed before. Frank Reynolds is a wealthy man, but one who almost has no moral limits. He can enter any situation with a strange confidence, willing to do things that most other television characters would avoid. The character is rough, irrational, but also extremely funny. Danny DeVito's presence brought a new rhythm to the series. With many years of experience in comedy, he turned Frank Reynolds into an unpredictable character, sometimes unsettling, sometimes completely absurd, but always making the audience wait to see what he would do next. Over time, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia developed into a television phenomenon. The series continued for many years and later became the longest-running live-action sitcom in the history of American television. During that journey, Danny DeVito remained an important part of the cast, a veteran figure standing among a much younger generation of actors. Outside of acting, Danny DeVito's personal life has also gone through changes over time. After many years together, Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman separated in 2012 because both of them were deeply focused on their own careers, ending more than 30 years of marriage since they had married in January 1982. However, their relationship did not end in tension or distance. The two have remained close, continuing to appear together at many family occasions and maintaining respect for one another after many decades of connection. But not every moment in his career unfolded perfectly. In 2006, Danny DeVito appeared on the television program The View. During the recording, he seemed somewhat out of control after a dinner party the night before. Later, Danny DeVito openly admitted that he had drunk too much alcohol the previous night. It was not a particularly comfortable moment in public, but it also reflected a familiar trait of Danny DeVito. He often faces situations like that with honesty, sometimes mixed with a bit of humor, rather than trying to hide them. Outside of acting, Danny DeVito also has interests that are mentioned less often. He is an art collector, spending considerable time learning about and preserving works that he appreciates. He also maintains a close connection to Italian culture, the family heritage that has accompanied him since childhood. In addition, Danny DeVito is known as someone who reads a great deal and who retains a very natural sense of humor in everyday life. At the age of 81, Danny DeVito has not stepped away from the entertainment world. He continues acting, participating in production, and still appears in television and film projects when the right opportunity comes. Looking back, Danny DeVito's career has lasted more than 50 years. During that time, he has taken on many roles: actor, director, producer, and at times, a distinctive figure within the very story of the entertainment industry itself. Danny DeVito has never fit the traditional image of a Hollywood star, but that very difference has made him a face that is almost impossible to mistake. And even today, he continues to work. Quietly, persistently, just as he has done for many decades.